Hello there, welcome back to my channel. This morning I grabbed again the Melt Amor y Mariposas eyeshadow palette. I love this palette. It is so gorgeous. I'm so excited that I have it. I love each look that I've done. I love every look that I've seen done with it. It's a gorgeous palette. So I had this idea of using the greens and the browns and then having a pop of bright shimmery color on the lower lash line. That idea was kind of floating around in my mind, and this is the result when I actually, tried to do it. So if you'd like to see how I did this eyeshadow look, then don't go anywhere. And if you're new to this channel, hello, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom who loves to play with colorful eyeshadow. So if that's the sort of thing that you're interested in and you'd like more colorful content on your timeline, I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing. I do try to upload about 3 videos a week, and you can find me also on Instagram at Shimmers and Silver. Now, without further ado, let's have some fun. Okay, so for today's look, I definitely want to play inside these greens up here. I think I'm gonna do all matte on my lid and then maybe a shimmer in the lower lash line, but my plan is to dip into some of these browns and most of these greens. I'm thinking like a brown and then green, darker green gradient. That's my thought. I apologize in advance for mispronouncing any of these names. I thought it was Portuguese because a lot of these names didn't remind me of the Spanish that I learned in high school. However, I looked it up online and it seems that it is Spanish, so anyway, I apologize if I mispronounce anything. I'm sure that I will. Anyway, I'm gonna dip into this pretty palette and we'll get started with this look. I'm not gonna hold the palette up to the camera to show what shades I'm choosing because every time I do that, it really screws up with my lighting and me trying to edit lighting and whatnot. It's a mess. So I will make a comment down below as you're watching to tell you what shades I'm using. Anyway, I'm gonna start by taking a medium to large blending brush and I'm gonna dip into the shade Adoro. And I'm gonna place this, I'm gonna use it just everywhere, I think. I'm gonna use it as kind of a setting shade to set my primer and give a little bit of pigment, but not too much. So I'm putting it in my crease and blending it in towards the nose and then up towards the brow bone. I'm so excited to dip into this palette again. I've been waiting I've been kind of like a little schoolgirl, like, oh, when do I get a chance to do my eyeshadow again? I want to play with this palette. It's so pretty. And I knew that I wanted to dip into the greens the next time I used it, so. I'm wearing this green shirt, which honestly is not the best color for me. It's kind of an olive drab green sort of color. It's not the best, but I'm hoping to brighten it up a little bit with some pretty green eyeshadow. Okay, I want to dive right into this mid-tone green. I'm taking a more dense, but still a medium-sized blending brush. I'm going to dip into the shade Sentimientos. And I'm just going in lightly because I can always add more later. And I'm going to place this in my outer corner. In the corner and in the crease, and look at this beautiful, beautiful green shadow. I'm just gonna keep this over here. I kind of want to do a gradient where I have like the darker greens and then the mid-tone green and then a brown. I think that's what I want to do. So I need to be careful not to overwhelm with too much of the dark tone. So I'm just keeping this in the outer half, or better yet, the outer third. I now want to take a smaller, this is again more dense, it's a little stubby, and it's, see that powder? Oh my. I did color switch it, but I clean my brushes about once a week, and believe me, they need it. So, this brush is smaller, it's pinched, it's a little stubby. I'm gonna dip into the shade Cariño, which is the lighter of the 3 green mattes. And I'm gonna place this in the center of my lid to meet up with this mid-tone green that we just laid down. And I'm just gonna blend those together. That's nice, like that. I'm not going in too far towards the bridge of my nose because I have another color I wanna put there. So I'm really just laying this down in the center of my lid and then working the shades together. It seems like these shadows, these Melt matte shades, they remind me a lot of the LiQWYD mattes, where you dip into the pan, you get the pigment, you place it on your lid, but it doesn't move around a lot. Like, it goes where you put it and then it kind of stays there. That's not to say that you can't blend it out. You can blend it out very nicely, but it's not like like maybe the more powdery shades, ColourPop for example, you put the shade on your lid and you can blend it everywhere. It moves very easily. The Udanzai mattes, and it seems like the Melt mattes as well, they are more stationary. You put them down and that's pretty much where they're gonna stay, and then you just buff out the edges. And I'm not complaining, like I don't have a problem at all with the formula. It's just a matter of understanding how it works so that you can apply it correctly and go into it with realistic expectations of how it's gonna perform and what you need to do to make it work. I love that Cariño shade because it was almost a minty green, but definitely warmer toned. It has like yellowy undertones, whereas mint greens often have much cooler undertones. This one's like a forest mint. It's really pretty. I'm going to take a looser blending brush and just buff out these edges a little bit. Honestly, it requires almost no blending. The shadows are just, they're working together so beautifully. I want to go back in with my original brush and basically add another layer on top of what I just did for both colors. So I'm going to start by dipping into Sentimientos, laying that down. And then I'll dip back into Cariño and do the same thing with the lighter color. Blend them together and then be back to show you the next step. I'm now taking a small blending brush. I'm going to dip into the shade Señales, which is next to Adoro, which is the first one that we used. The Adoro was the wash of everything. Señales is slightly lighter. It's still a light to mid-toned brownish shadow. Those are two shades which I think are kind of duplicate, like you don't really need both. They're not the same shadow, but they're close enough that I do wonder why they're both in there. I'm gonna lay this on my inner corner and blend it out towards that lighter green that we laid down. And then I think I'll also wrap this down to the lower lash line at the inner corner and go about halfway. And now using a different small blending brush, I want to dip into the darkest of the green mattes. This is probably going to be mispronounced. I think it's called Guamúchil? Guamúchil? Not sure. Sorry, I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm going to dip into this green matte and deepen the outer corner. Then I'll go back into my first brush that I used, not the blending brush, but the one I used for that medium tone green. And I'll just go back and forth between the two colors, like the medium tone and the dark tone green, to work them together. Okay, now for the lower lash line, I'm taking a smudger brush. I'm gonna dip into the middle tone green matte shade called Sentimientos, and I'm gonna lay this on the outer corner, about halfway under my eyes to meet the brown that we laid down before. And then finally, I want to add some shimmer on the bottom lash line. So I'm going to take a small pencil brush, after I find it, here we go, a small pencil brush. I'm gonna dip into the shade Mesquite, which is the more bronzy of the two goldish shimmers. The other one's Tequila. And the only reason I'm dipping into Mesquite is because I used Tequila last time and I want to use a different one now. I also want to keep it more bronzy brownish, and I think this color will work better with the greens I've laid down. Anyway, I have dipped into Mesquite with my brush. Now I'm going to spray my brush so that I can control the shimmer's application and also potential fallout, especially because I'm working in a small area. I'm going to put that as an inner corner highlight and then drag it down. Oh, look at that, it's so pretty. Drag it down onto my lower lash line, halfway to meet the green. It's basically laying on top of the brown that we put down there before. But I don't want the shimmer on my lid. I just want it to be like inner corner and below. That's so pretty. Okay, this is it for the eye look. I have experienced some fallout, so I'm going to carefully clean up under my eyes, finish up the other side, throw on some liner and mascara, and come back to show you the end result. All right, everyone, here's the finished look. I think it's really pretty. I love the green and the brown together with this pop of orangey gold. I forgot to do waterline colors in the tutorial, so I'll tell you what I did. I grabbed two cream gel liners from ColourPop. One is called Two Can Do It from their Lush Life collection. Actually, both of them are from the Lush Life collection. And the other one is fading away, but it is called Canopy. It's a dark green. So I put the dark green out here on the lower waterline, and then on the inner waterline I put the Two Can Do It marigold yellowy color. Anyway, I then added a little bit of a wing and some mascara, a little bit of face products, and that is the finished look. I love it. I think it's beautiful. I just knew that these colors would look so nice together. Every time I thought about the palette and what I was going to do next, this green brown with a bright gold orangey kind of color story, it came into my brain, so that's what I had to do next. Anyway, I love this palette, you guys. I love it. I think it's beautiful. It is like probably my favorite palette at this point, or at least at this point in time. It's so gorgeous. I love the colors and the variety and the formulation. It works really, really well. It builds, it's pigmented. It's gorgeous. So again, you can expect to see more eyeshadow looks using this palette. And I thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the look. You have to let me know what you think, if you have this palette and what kind of color combinations you like to do with it. Don't forget that you can like and subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to see more. Remember that you can find me on Instagram at Shimmers and Silver. And until we see each other again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye! Collections, declutters, palettes,